Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, April 5th, Erev Shabbat, Parshat Tazria. Tazria, and all the way into the beginning of Mitzorah, deals primarily with the experience of tzarat, which are blemishes that appear, described mostly in Tazria on the body, and then beginning in Shishi, talking about habeged ki yebonegat tzarat, if you have it on a garment, on a piece of fabric, on a skin that you sit on. And then later on, we'll talk about tzarat on a house. Ramban makes sure to tell us the following. So this, you could try to come up with an explanation for tzarat on a body, a living organism of a body, but the tzarat of a fabric, that doesn't exist in nature. It just doesn't, it's not existent in the world. So the same thing would be for tzarat of houses. It's just not possible to explain it as a phenomenon of nature. Now, we might have said, well, we might want to review that question to decide whether or not molds and funguses would be somehow what the Torah is describing here. But for the Ramban's reading, that they should know that this is not a natural thing, and we also don't believe it's natural. It comes only in these contexts. This is how he explains it. To the extent that when Jews are really whole with God, so then God's Spirit is with them tamid, is always present and with them. They'll keep you all in good, you're in good view, good look. Your body, your garments, your house, it'll all be as we know it should be. Now this is how he sometimes describes what we should appreciate to be happening. Some type of sin that a person is deeply involved in. So that's when it will come to exist some type of ugliness in his skin, or his garment, or his house. To show ki Hashem sar me'alav. That shows that God has departed from you. So interestingly, it's not, we speak about somehow, and generally describe it, there's a visitation on your body, a visitation on your garment, a visitation on your house. But he described that no, when God is present in the world runs as it should. But when God departs, this is the mark that he leaves. The absence of God is going to lead to this. That's how he describes it, as a sign. Hi. So that's and so he goes on to say this is only when only in Eretz Yisrael, as the Torah describes about a house, and he says the same thing when it comes to garments. It's something that only happens in a place where God is really fully present, not here in Chutz La'aretz, but in Eretz Yisrael. That's where God is in Israel. And he goes on to say the following. So that's in the chosen land, etc. And the Midrash says that this only applies after the conquest of Israel and the division of the land into to everyone's property. Not before. Even though Joshua went in, there wouldn't be yet this experience until afterwards. Until you actually kind of know your place and know where you are. And the reason is, that's when their spirits and their minds have settled with them to know God. That God should make his presence exist with them. Same thing he says when it comes to the garments, only in the land of Israel. So that's a very interesting way to describe this, right? That God is with you, we hope all the time. God departs from you when, for the list of sins, we look primarily at the way we speak ill of one another. And this is the remnant of God's departure, as it were, some sign of God being absent from you. I just wanted to say, though, but God would only start this. Maybe God would only choose to leave you when you are in a place where your head's together, you can put your head together and gather yourself and mindfully be aware of yourself and God, and yet, that's so when you're all caught up in the difficulties of battling and conquest of the land of Israel, so God says, "I'll wait," right? Whatever, things happen, but when life is together for you, that's when God expects more. God expects more. And your consciousness has to be of God being present with you. And when you're conscious of God being present with you, you're not going to speak ill of another person or all the other things that might go on the list of things that cause sarat. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, in Chutz La'aretz technically doesn't happen because God isn't. We say that God doesn't really hover in present there. But of course, the notion again is that God expects more of us when we actually have the capacity to process life. That is a reasonable conjecture, and we hope that we meet God's call. That we are indeed conscious of God in the way we act, in the way we speak. And that God should indeed want to be amongst us and with us to enable us to be shleimim, to be whole with Him, and He with us. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.